reports today, and I am so glad to be bringing you today's big news, and that is that Oklahoma and Texas are now members of the Southeastern Conference. Now, talks have been going on for over a year now, and so I do have a sheet of paper right here in my hand that goes over some of the details of how we got to this point. So, on July 21st, 2021, news broke during SEC Media Days that Oklahoma and Texas has been in talks with the SEC in possibly joining the conference. Now, also note that when this news came out, Texas A&M head coach Jimbo Fisher was about to go up on the podium and begin his speech talking about his team to this point and where he thought Texas A&M was at. Of course, the news comes out right as Jimbo Fisher is going up on the podium. So, everybody's kind of thinking that this is just a joke, but we later learn this is not a joke, that this is actually happening. So, 5 days later, Oklahoma and Texas notified the Big 12 that they would not extend the conference's grant of rights media deal. The media rights are planned to expire at the end of the 2024-25 school year. So, at that point, Texas and Oklahoma had told the Big 12 they're not coming back. And the next day, the two schools formally requested to join the SEC. All 14 current schools all accepted to invite Oklahoma and Texas. Both schools accepted the invitations to join. And then Oklahoma and Texas will join the SEC no later than July 1st, 2025. Both have been in talks with the SEC for over six months. So, my opinion on this is that I think this is good for the SEC. I mean, if you're going to go look at the geography of all of this, Missouri is playing the SEC East at this current time. You add Oklahoma and Texas into the mix, then you could possibly see a huge shift in the SEC. And what I mean about that is, personally, I believe that Alabama and Auburn are going to be moved to the SEC East, and that means Missouri's going to be put in the West, while also adding Oklahoma and Texas. Now, there's also another way you could do this, and that is, you could add 2 more divisions in the SEC, and you would have 4 divisions of 4. And if I believe right, I had said that Alabama, Auburn, Georgia, and Florida would be in a division. Then you would have Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vandy. Then you would have Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma. And then Arkansas, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State in the 4 divisions. So, this does cause for a question, though, about the playoff expansion. And we can get to that later. But with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, I do have one question for you, the viewers. Is there really any question now that the SEC could be the second best conference in college football? And go past college football at that same time and go look at college basketball. Both Oklahoma and Texas this year just hired 2 new head coaches in basketball. Chris Beard, who is coaching at Texas Tech in college basketball, now head coach at Texas in basketball. And you go look at Porter Moser, who had 2 incredible runs at Loyola Chicago in the NCAA tournament. He's now having his shot, and he's coaching the Oklahoma Sooners in basketball. And also, if you look at new coaches as far as college football, Steve Sarkisian was just the offensive coordinator at Alabama, who led some great offenses with Tua Tagovailoa and Mac Jones. He is now the head coach of the Texas Longhorns in football. So, what I'm saying is, you're looking at those 2 sports, you got 3 new head coaches for those 2 teams that are coming into the SEC, it makes for a lot of drama. And it makes for a really interesting conversation when you look at these guys who have just accepted these jobs, and now they're going to have to go join an SEC, a stacked SEC. And don't get me wrong, every team in the SEC is going to be good. Now, in football, if you go look at Vandy, though, they're probably the only one that is subpar. But all the rest look like they're going to be in bowl games. Even Arkansas, who's probably going to be the worst team in the SEC West, they're going to get a bowl game just because of how good they are. So that leads me to a question. In football, can you really say the Big Ten is better than the SEC right now? Well, my answer is no. SEC is the number one conference in college football. Now, basketball is a different story, though. Now, of course, the Big 12, there is rumors that it could dissolve, or we could see a situation where maybe all the rest of the teams may stay in the Big 12, and in the Big 12, it reloads, which they have been known to do in the past. So, I mean, could the Big 12 dissolve? Yes. But at the same time, in my belief, I think you still have a good conference. If you go look at college basketball, you still got a juggernaut of a conference right there with Kansas, Baylor, Oklahoma State still looks pretty good in basketball. Kansas State, don't get me wrong, they do challenge some teams in that conference right now. Texas Tech, if they can sustain their success in college basketball, even though Chris Beard just left, you've got yourself a good team right there. So, what I'm saying is, the Big 12 in basketball is looking really good. So, you can't solely say that football rules the whole conference right there. Because there's still a possibility that this conference will stay intact. And if you go look at it, basketball, they're probably the second best conference for college basketball, right behind the ACC. You go look at the ACC in basketball, Duke, North Carolina, Syracuse, Virginia. I mean, the list goes on and on in the ACC right now. Now, another team that the rumors have started to come, because whenever you see an expansion like this into conferences, you always see a lot of rumors come out. West Virginia, who is in the Big 12 right now, there are rumors that they could leave to go to the ACC. Do I believe that this is possible? Well, I think it could happen. But I think what people need to focus on, though, what's happening in the Big 12. Okay? And if you look at it, I mean, West Virginia's like the only other team to right now, be probably in the starting of rumors after Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I mean, Kansas could leave, but at the same time, if they do leave, they're probably going to the ACC or the Big Ten. So, at this point in time, what the Big 12 could start focusing on is saying, hey, we're not going to be the juggernaut in college football that we were without Texas and Oklahoma. But what could happen, though, is that you could reload and go look at some of these teams that are they're really good college basketball schools. Go look at some of those and say, you know what? Let's go try to be better than the ACC at basketball. That's where they should go. I mean, look, in college football, the Big 12, you don't have a chance at getting anybody else to really have the caliber of success of what Texas and Oklahoma is. Texas and Oklahoma are two blue bloods of college football. Now, basketball is a different story for those schools. In basketball, essentially, what you're looking at in the Big 12 is you're not going to lose a whole lot. Because Kansas is still the king of the crop. Baylor, they're coming along. They just won the college basketball national championship game. So, what you could be seeing is that the Big 12 is going to target some of these good basketball schools. They could get some of those, and you've got yourself a powerful basketball conference. And you can seriously contend with the ACC for who is better in college basketball. That's where I see the Big 12 going. Now, I want to touch, though, on the college football playoff expansion, though, a little bit. Because, in my opinion, with this expansion now, in the conferences, now that Texas and Oklahoma are now in the SEC, what is going to happen to this playoff expansion? Now, I don't know all the details of what they've put out there. I know one key thing that they've said is that the top 4 conference champions in college football would get the top 4 seeds. So it still makes for you, it still puts importance on winning your conference championship game. Then, you essentially have like 8 wild cards there. And let me tell you something. With the SEC expanding, I mean, if you go along with this college football playoff expansion, you're gonna see, I mean, possibly in those 8 wild cards, you're gonna possibly see 6 other SEC teams, maybe. At most, you would see maybe all 8 filled by SEC teams. So, I mean, what I'm saying is that the playoff does not need to expand, because then it makes it easier for your Alabamas, Ohio States, Clemsons of college football, and maybe like a Notre Dame who would not get a chance to be in the top 4, who would be like a 5, for them to really rule college football, even more than what you already have. So, I think what the playoff committee needs to say is, hey, look, conferences are expanding. The playoff will not work. College football is the last sport to really and truthfully hold the most importance on your regular season. You can lose one game. One game is going to affect one game can affect your whole 12-game schedule. One loss can affect everything in college football. 2 losses, and you don't have a shot anymore. You expand the playoff, you're becoming the NFL. That is just the truth of the matter. And, put in the comments, if you think there's other ways of this being done. And, I have said that maybe the only way I could accept a playoff expansion is like if you made it a 16 playoff. It would still put the importance on trying to be the top 2 teams in college football. But you still have an issue here. And that is, if you expand the playoff, regular season has lost its importance. It really has. Because then, you could see 4 lost teams win the national championship. 4 losses in college football. That is not good. Look, an 8-4 schedule, 8-4 record in college football, you're doing okay. But if you are 8-4 and you have a chance to win the national championship, I don't care if you're a team who is super stacked, but if you lose 4 games in college football and you still expect to win the national championship, then we've lost the integrity of our sport. So, personally, before anybody can sell me on a 12-team playoff, you're going to have to explain to me what's going to happen to the regular season and what is going to happen to your conference championship games. Because if you lose the importance of the regular season and your conference championship game, then what's the point of people tuning in until the playoff? What's the point of your ratings then? Your ratings are going to be down. Really, they're going to be way down. And you still expect... I mean, look, if you're one of these big, huge networks that have the rights to this, you're pushing for this as hard as you can get it. Because you're going to make more money. Somehow you're going to make more money. But you cannot... I mean, you can't expand without losing some integrity to what is going on. And you know what? You're going to lose the integrity of the sport. Now, with all this conference expansion, college basketball is going to be much more fun to watch. Baseball is going to be much more fun to watch. Any sport you're going to see. I mean, it's going to be fun seeing what's going to go down in the near future. But, college football, what I want you to take out of this is, I don't believe the playoff expanding would be good. And, if the integrity of the sport is lost, then there's not a sport that emphasizes on being the true best. Because, not all... Okay, go look at the NFL. Last season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you know what seed they were? They were a 5 seed. A 5 seed in the NFC. 5 out of 7. You know what happened to them? They made it to the Super Bowl and beat the mess out of Kansas City. Now, I mean, yes, it's Tom Brady and all these other guys that are incredible. But, what I'm trying to get at is, don't you think college football is going to be that way? You're going to have a team that loses more games than they should in the regular season, still gets a chance to win the national championship game in college football. And look, the emphasis on winning your regular season is gone. So, I mean, honestly, you could end up seeing a team like an LSU go, and let's just be hypothetical here. They could go 8-4 and be one of the most awful offenses in college football. And they could win the national championship based off their defense. Just because you had a chance now. So, I think I'm going to wrap up this video for today. I thank you for watching, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from with this college football expansion. So I hope you have a great day and enjoy.